Well, there was some action tonight, wasn't there? So I got 12 games to review. If you're looking for reviews of the matinee games, I already did that. That was in a separate video I posted this afternoon. So we had 12 evening games. The Akbar Magnet is still on the board. I left it, but he ended up being proven wrong tonight. But we really need to start off with that. And I have to say, it is very rare that hockey moves me to tears. Tonight it did. It wasn't in a good way. The Bruins got an early power play. Pasternak gets a goal from Krug on the power play at 1:17. It was a set play. It was a really nice set play. Pasta with a really good deke for the goal. And it was an early lead for Boston, and things looked pretty good. And then Sabourin, he collided with David Backes. And it was one of those collisions that happened. It was helmet on helmet, and it's one of those things that can just happen. It was at full speed, and Sabourin really got the worst of it. As soon as he saw Sabourin down, Backes himself was waving over medical staff. There were doctors on the ice, and it was scary. And when you see a guy who's face down on the ice, and you just see their leg twitching, I honestly just kept thinking, don't let him be paralyzed. Don't let him be paralyzed. And he looked to me like he was out on the ice. And apparently he was. That's what they were saying. Also, the officials let the announcers know that he was moving his legs before they put him onto the stretcher. They stretchered him off. It took a long time. And the crowd was very, very quiet. The entire teams, both the Senators and the Bruins, left the bench and went over to see him off the ice as he gave a thumbs up to the crowd. I hope he's okay. I hope it wasn't nearly as bad as it looked. Because when they took him off the ice and you see there's a pool of blood on the ice, and it felt like an NFL injury with how scary, sudden, and violent it was, and accidental. David Backes was very upset, and when I see him tearing up, and I see all these players who are very upset, it had me tearing up too. It was tough, and then it was tough for me to get back into, all right, let's go watch other games. So it makes it hard, and I know it has to be tough for players. Because as soon as that's cleaned up, the ice gets cleaned up, you got to go out there and play hockey. That's your job. And Backes left the game. He went over to the bench. He sprayed water on his neck. He was still upset. You could see his teammates were patting him on the back, and he wasn't even making eye contact. He just got up, and he left. And the Bruins were saying he had an upper body injury. Now, with the violence of the collision, I wouldn't be surprised if Backes has a concussion from it. I really wouldn't. But he didn't look like his head was in the game. And I don't think anybody would blame him for, after seeing that and being a part of that and feeling responsible for that, if he said, yeah, I'm done for the night. I can't do this. So I don't think anybody would blame him for having that opinion at the end of the night. So to David Backes and to Scott Sabourin, here's to hoping they're both okay. So that happens, and then the game has to start again. The Senators got a power play at the 8-minute mark, and Duclair scores from Logan Brown and Borowiecki at 12 minutes and 4 seconds. So it wasn't on the power play, but the Senators got some sort of, I guess, momentum, although this was only their third shot, which was a theme today, scoring on the third shot you've had and being outshot and still being in the game, or in some cases winning it. And then Logan Brown got hurt, and he left the game. And if you're a Sens fan, you had to be thinking, what, seriously? We don't have a lot of NHL depth? And so this is upsetting to see these guys leaving the game. So it's 1-1 after one, but there's still this feeling over the game of Sabourin. And the announcers kept saying, our thoughts and prayers are with Sabourin. And that was really where this game felt like it was at until Marchand saved it. And let's go through that. So second period, Bergeron scores from Pasternak and Marchand at 1 minute and 51 seconds, because that line scores a lot, so that people will call them the perfection line, which will cause me to yell, no, stop calling them that. However, Connor Brown scored from Borowiecki at 3 minutes and 4 seconds. Connor Brown's been fantastic for the Senators. Despite how poor this team has been for most of this year, Brown is not the problem. The Senators got a power play. There was then a scrum in front of the Bruins net. There was a penalty coming out of this. Marchand decided, I'm in for a penny, in for a pound, and he speared DeMello on the way by. And it was just stupid. And I know people are going to say, well, he should have been thrown out of the game. And maybe. Yeah, you can argue 5 in a game. I would not have had any problem with it. They gave him 4 minutes. So I guess they decided, well, DeMello's still in the game. He's not injured. But boy, that was stupid. So you're sitting for 4. What ended up happening was a 5-minute power play for the Senators resulted from all this. And the Bruins killed it off. And once Marchand was still in the game after spearing DeMello, well, every time Marchand's on the ice, yeah, the Sens kind of want to give it to him. So it doesn't excuse that behavior by Marchand. I'm not proud of it. I don't like it. I can't be upset with guys for playing that way on other teams and then go, well, he's a Bruin, it's okay. I don't do that with Marchand, and I don't condone it here. Should he have been thrown out? Probably yes. Marchand then drew a penalty. Borowiecki was trying to go to him, and Borowiecki ends up getting a penalty out of it. So now, Marchand being on the ice is causing Senators to take penalties. And so after 2 periods, it was 2-2. And early in the third, the score and the shots were even. I thought Ottawa played a really good road game. And then Boston happened. First it's Stanton Heinen at 5 minutes and 43 seconds. And then at 6 minutes and 50 seconds on the power play, it's Marchand. Yep, he gets power play goal from Pasternak and Bergeron. It was a beautiful play, beautiful passing play between the three of them. But yes, for people who want to get mad and say he shouldn't have been on the ice, you've probably got a point. If anybody's going to wait and see if he gets any kind of discipline for it, I don't think so. We've already seen the NHL Department of Player Safety come out over an incident tonight and say somebody's going to be seeing them tomorrow. And Marchand, to my knowledge, unless they've tweeted out since then, Marchand has not been alerted. DeBrusk then scored from Heinen at 16 minutes and 16 seconds. And then there was another incident later. So we're less than 4 minutes left in this game, and players get tied up with a linesman, and Shabbat kind of stumbled over him, and it looked like the linesman buggered up his left ankle or something. So the medical staff tonight got a lot of work, and props to Boston's medical staff. This facility is really well prepared, and the trainers were excellent, and This is why you have doctors on site. This is why you have the training staff ready to jump on the ice in a heartbeat, and they did. And 5-2 was your final. The game is overshadowed by everything else that happened. Absolutely. First overshadowed by Sabourin, and then overshadowed by Marchand's antics. And the next time these teams meet each other, we'll see if Ottawa takes the bait. And what I mean by that is something simple. If Marchand pulls you out of your game, he's won. If he has you worried about him rather than trying to win the game, he's won. He should probably have been kicked out of the game just for stupidity. You should be able to just say that's 5 in a game if they go for what? That was just stupid. And it was ridiculous. And you're out of the game. So 5-2 is your final. Your 3 stars are Pasternak, Heinen, and Rask. Anderson saved 27 out of 32. Rask saved 30 out of 32. Ottawa got better as the game went along. Boston outshot them 11-6 in the first. Ottawa outshot them 15-10 in the second. And in the third, the shots were 11 apiece. Considering 3 of the Bruins' shots went in, Ottawa just wasn't getting those breaks. Your final shots were 32 each. Ottawa goes 0 for 5 on the power play. It is a glaring problem with them as their power play. And Boston went 2 for 4. So you can see that special teams directly correlated with who won this game. But again, my thoughts are with Scott Sabourin. All right, next up. Islanders and Buffalo. This game I'm going to review in a lot less time because there wasn't as much that really happened. The New York Islanders have now won 9 in a row. And they have managed to bore me into not keeping notes for the most part. And it's the best compliment I can give a Barry Trotz coach team. For Buffalo, they're off to Sweden. So the Islanders beat both teams that are going to Sweden for their global series before they left. So the Islanders are like the worst guys for sending people off. At least send them off with some confidence. No. For Buffalo, this is back-to-back setbacks, and there is some concern, I would think, with Buffalo. We'll see how they perform overseas. Broussard scored from Beauvillier at 5 minutes and 19 seconds, and all I could think was, okay, so they're going to win then, because they scored first. They've won 8 in a row. They don't allow shots. And in that first period, it was another first period where they just weren't allowing shots. That's just not going to happen. Buffalo managed 6. Now, in the second period, the Islanders get a power play at 6 minutes, but that's their only power play in the game, and that really wasn't their concern. There were 8 shots for the Sabres through the first 30 minutes of this game. Just shut down by the Islanders. And it was clean play. It was solid defense. Shot blocking, sure. The Sabres got a power play, and the shots favored Buffalo as they started to really get a push in there. But how many of those shots were really great shots? Like Varlamov played very, very well, but how much did the Islanders frustrate these guys? I would answer with a lot. Pretty much entirely yes. Third period, Varlamov was just stopping everything. The Sabres had a power play early. It failed because the Islanders just weren't giving the Sabres anything to work with. Nothing. They pull the goalie with 2 minutes and 5 seconds left, and the Islanders just kept smothering the game. And it is something that is unique to the Islanders in the National Hockey League. I know I've talked about the Ducks playing the trap, but the Ducks, it seems to depend on which period they're in and what the situation is. The Islanders, it is just they play their game, and good luck beating them at it. They have now won 9 in a row. They are off to an amazing start to the season. Varlamov saved all 27 shots. Hutton was very good as well, saved 20 out of 21. And it's a shame because Buffalo is wearing those nice 50th anniversary jerseys with the gold leaf. That's pretty spectacular looking, that jersey, and seeing it lose like that is just a shame. Broussard was your second star, sandwiched between Varlamov and Hutton. Power plays, Islanders went 0 for 1, Buffalo went 0 for 3. Of course, Buffalo went 0 for, they got shut out. Some night I should post a game that's a shutout and say that a team went 2 for 4 on the power play, but they couldn't get a goal, and just see if people go nuts. Shots, 10-6 Islanders in the first, 10-7 Buffalo in the second, and in the third, Islanders sat on it. They got outshot 11-4, but it worked. So they were outshot 27-21. The Islanders continue to be outshot, and they continue to win games. Doesn't make a whole lot of sense, but this has been one of those runs. We'll see if it continues. I'm not betting against it. Detroit. Well, is this the bottom for Detroit? Like, the win over Edmonton made it feel like, hey, things could be getting better. So after yesterday's result, now today's result, does it feel worse? Or is it just, well, this is where Detroit is now. We're waiting on that number 1 draft pick. There was an early power play for the Panthers. Connolly then scored from Melgen and Vetrano at 3 minutes and 5 seconds. The shots were 5-0 Florida 4 minutes into this, and it just felt right out of the gate like Detroit's not here. They're not with it. They're not. It's not going to happen. Barkov scored from Huberdeau and Yandel at 16:54. I knew Barkov was going to start getting goals. It has begun. I anticipate a hat trick in his near future. So there was a shorthanded chance for Barkov as well, as the Wings got a power play right after that goal. So, of course, Florida gets the best chance on it and very nearly scored. So it's 2-0 after 1. Second period, Huberdeau from Barkov and Strollman at 6 minutes and 45 seconds. Barkov continues his amazing pace when it comes to the assists, and Huberdeau continues to play some amazing hockey as well. It gets lost in the Barkov news and in people talking about Florida's slow start, but Huberdeau's really had a good start to the year. The Wings got a power play, and I put up here they need a goal. Did they get it? No, not at all. And I put the Wings are likely team number 31 for a while. And I mean the overall stats. I mean on my power rankings board, on power rankings everywhere, I would expect Detroit to be number 31 for a while. If you're paying attention to the National Hockey League, they right now are probably the worst team in the league. Third period, the Panthers are just cruising at this stage. And they didn't really let up. They didn't really give Detroit a whole lot of hope, although I don't get the feeling Detroit's playing with any confidence right now. Another Red Wings power play and another fail. And then Huberdeau scores from Yandel and Ekblad at 10 minutes and 46 seconds. And that's your final goal. 4-0 for the Florida Panthers. Absolutely amazing result. Bernier saved 37 out of 41. Bobrovsky saved all 22. Bobrovsky had a pretty easy night, and he needed that, and he gets the shutout, so he gets some confidence. He brings up his save percentage. Maybe this is the start of that turnaround for him. Huberdeau, Bobrovsky, and Barkov are your 3 stars. Not bad at all. Power plays, Detroit goes 0 for 3. Florida 1 for 2. Shots, that's in favor of Florida the whole way. 15-7 in the first, 14-7 in the second, and 12-8 in the third. Final shots, 41-22 in favor of the Florida Panthers. It's going to be a long season in Detroit, but Detroit fans know that. It doesn't make it easier, though, does it? Like, even, I guess, I would, how would I equate it? It's sort of like knowing you're going to get beat up, but it doesn't mean you're looking forward to it. Like, yeah, I got beat up, but I really don't enjoy this. So seeing Detroit getting whooped like this, it's got to be kind of hard to. And I say that as a fan. I've watched Vancouver go through it, and Dallas go through it, and even Boston in the late 90s, I watched them go through it. Doesn't make it easier. You're like, yeah, we suck. We're going to lose tonight. Oh, this is even worse than I thought it was going to be. At least put up a fight. They scored another one. So, yeah, I feel for Detroit fans tonight. I really do. Next up, Toronto Maple Leafs. Despite their best efforts, they won tonight. This is a game that I feel like Freddie Anderson kind of sort of stole it a little bit, and they were fortunate in this game. They win it in a shootout. So, again, I treat shootouts sort of like ties, but the fact that this game was a 3-point game says a lot about Anderson's night tonight. Early pressure favored the Leafs. Kapanen then scored from Riley and Spezza at 5 minutes and 55 seconds. I thought Spezza had a pretty good game. He was in the penalty box a bit, but he had a pretty good game. The shots were 10-1 for Toronto at 14 minutes into this game, which made the turnaround that much more shocking because at a certain point, Philly started playing. Provorov scored from Giroux and Voracek at 15:02. That was their third shot of the night. It's a power play goal. And it felt like that really gave them the confidence. They started playing better. Second period, the Flyers get an early power play. They score on the power play again. It's Giroux from Provorov and Voracek at 3 minutes and 12 seconds. Giroux, I think, played his best game tonight of the season. We'll see whether or not that continues. Then Spezza, who'd been in the box, went back to the box with another penalty, so 4 penalty minutes for him tonight that I know of. The Flyers seemed to be the better team in the second period. Farabee had a good chance that just missed wide. And then Spezza scored from Mikheyev and Kapanen at 17:55. So, the timing of a goal can be very, very key. And so Spezza gets one at the exact right time because it looked like Philly was ready to widen that lead. Third period, they did get the lead back. Sanheim from Couturier and Lindblom at 31 seconds. So very quick goal for Philadelphia, puts them back into the lead. The Flyers got a power play for 15 seconds. Farabee had a high stick behind the net that ended it. So he's a rookie. He's gonna this is gonna happen. So that negated that, and then Marner ends up scoring at 5 minutes and 3 seconds. So yeah. Marner gets a goal. Matthews didn't because it's now November, so it's not October anymore. So Matthews didn't get a goal tonight. I don't know that has anything to do with it. Just, I'll go ahead and say it. That goal by Marner ended up being the tire that forced overtime. So even though Philly played an excellent third period, other than the goal 31 seconds in, they didn't allow another one. In overtime, the Leafs took a penalty. Whoops. And then Alain Vigneault very smartly takes a timeout before the power play starts to go over what he's going to do. And whatever he went over, it didn't work because they didn't score on it, and we end up with a shootout. The shootout went to round 11. I don't normally talk about shootouts because it's not really gameplay. It's a shootout. But yeah, Janssen scores in the 11th round. 8 rounds So 16 shots. The goaltenders saved everything. Both teams scored in round 9. The goalies saved both in round 10. And then Janssen finally ended it at round 11, right around where we were thinking, is this going to go all night? Your 3 stars are Giroux, Provorov, and Spezza. Anderson saved 37 out of 40. Elliott saved 23 out of 26. Power plays, Toronto 0 for 2. Philadelphia 2 for 6. So while, yes, they get the win in a shootout, there are still things Toronto needs to work on. There are still alarming inconsistencies to their game that may get fixed when John Tavares and Zach Hyman are back in the lineup and they finally have the roster they'd envisioned during the summer. Shots in this game, 12-5 Toronto in the first, 16-7 Philly in the second. In the third, 11-5 for Philly, and then 8-2 for the Flyers in overtime. Yeah, Anderson was great. Final shots, 40-26 in favor of those Flyers. And Philly, it's a frustrating point they lose, but still, for both teams, they have a lot to work on. They're both kind of off to slow starts compared to what was expected of them. And we'll see if Toronto can take advantage from here. That being said, I now have to change boards. And moving along, New Jersey. The Devils needed this tonight. And for Carolina, I don't know. I don't know if this is a sign that cracks might be showing. I don't know if it's a Reimer thing because, I said when they signed when they picked up Reimer during the summer that I was hoping Reimer could have a bounce back, but I've watched him go through some very inconsistent stretches as a member of the Toronto Maple Leafs and then in Florida. And so I'm still on the fence about whether or not I think he can keep it up over a full season. In the first period tonight, Foegele scored from Aho and Gardner at 7 minutes and 55 seconds. At this point, I should point out the first board that I've already done and 3 games on this board, they were all on at the exact same time. So I watched what I could, and stuff that gets missed, it gets missed. That's just going to happen. I'm not even going to try to track all 7 games at once. Wood scored from Butcher and Simmons at 11 minutes and 28 seconds. That tied it up. The Devils went to a power play, and because the Devils were on a power play, the best chance went to Carolina. Aho got a great chance shorthanded, and Blackwood denied him. I thought Blackwood played very well, and he's making a good argument for being the starter going forward. Teravainen then scored from Svechnikov and Haula at 16 minutes and 36 seconds. However, not able to manage that lead. Hughes scores from Hall on the power play at 19 minutes and 33 seconds. That's right, a New Jersey Devils power play goal on the road. So it was 2-2 after 1, and I was thinking, how many magnets am I going to need for this game? Turned out not as many as I might have thought. Second period, Heischer scores from Green at 34 seconds. So again, one of those first-minute goals in a game. There seems to be a lot of them right now. The Devils then kill the Canes power play. However, just past the midway mark of the game, Haula scores from Dzingel and Netchus at 10:59. So Haula continues his amazing start with Carolina. The team that traded him, I don't know, he looks pretty good. And I understand why they traded him, but boy, he does look pretty good as a member of the Hurricanes right now. And the Hurricanes, every time he scores, you guys should be thanking Vegas. Simmons then challenged Svechnikov at the buzzer. So as the period ended, he was going after Svechnikov, and I was thinking, just don't fight Wayne Simmons, Svechnikov. Don't. And he didn't. So third period, there was a 3-on-3 early in the third, so a lot of penalties all coalesce at the same time. Subban then scored from Wood at 4 minutes. So that puts New Jersey in the lead. And it was a Reimer turnover that led to that goal. So it's one of those things that it can happen. Blackwood was definitely holding on and doing very well while they had the lead when called upon. Carolina didn't get the kind of shots in the third period one would normally expect from Carolina. They pulled the goalie with 2 minutes left and still weren't generating a lot of opportunities. And then Severson scores from Rooney into the empty net at 19:11, and New Jersey went into Carolina and beat them 5-3. So for Carolina, after a blowout victory over Detroit, this is what happened. So Carolina still got an excellent record. This could very well be a blip, but we'll see. And for New Jersey, this is a win that they needed. Blackwood saved 24 out of 27. Reimer saved 21 out of 25. Your 3 stars are Wood, Howla and Subban. PK Subban, very good game for him. Power plays, both teams went 1 for 4. Shots were favoring Carolina in the first, 14-9. They favored New Jersey 10-9 in the second, and in the third, 7-4. So again, for New Jersey, they limited Carolina at home to only 4 shots in the third period. That's huge. Final shots were 27-26 for Carolina, but when the game was on the line, New Jersey had the puck control. So good game for them overall. Next up, Calgary. So there will be a hearing for Milan Lucic over a sucker punch that he threw at Cole Sherwood. I don't know what he gets, but there's going to be a hearing. The weird thing is, Calgary won tonight. And yeah, I mean, Sherwood takes a poke at the goalie, but you don't sucker punch a guy like that. It's silliness. And somebody somewhere is going to point out, oh, he used to be a Bruin. Yeah, he was. I wasn't a huge fan his last year in Boston either, because he would do that where he would take a stupid penalty, and I'd be like, we've already got guys that can do that. If you could get a goal. Thankfully for Flames fans, they didn't need him to get a goal tonight. Monahan scored from Lindholm and Gaudreau at 3 minutes and 44 seconds. Really key that line gets it going, and especially Monahan, who has been offensively struggling this year. There was a last-minute power play in that period for the Flames, but they were up 1-0. And basically during that game, the first period was pretty safe period, excellent road period for Calgary. The Flames got a power play in the second at 4 minutes 52 seconds. Columbus got a power play after that. Neither power plays were effective tonight. Both penalty kills did very well. But there was a shorthanded breakaway for Derek Ryan, which did not end up going in the net, but it was close. Riddick then denied Atkinson. So Cam Atkinson was close. Cam Atkinson is not putting up a ton of points right now. Not a lot of goals being put up by Atkinson. I think he's stuck on 3. Bennett then scored from Ryan at 8 minutes and 20 seconds. So that makes it 2-0 for the Flames. And apparently Shadow hates that. And that was on a delayed penalty to the Columbus Blue Jackets. Riddick then denied Bjorkstrand. And then Columbus gets a late power play, but of course they didn't score on it. If you're looking to score at the top of the board, you know they didn't score on the power play. It's pretty basic math. Third period, the Flames got a power play. And again, the fact that I don't really have anything else to write down tells you just how well they were playing overall. Columbus got a ton of shots. But there's only so many ways to say Riddick denies, Riddick stands tall, Riddick's awesome. Riddick basically, it looks like, watched Hellebuck last night and went, well, I can do that. Of course I can do that. So, and he might have watched Mike Smith earlier today and gone, it's fine. I can do what he's doing. The goalie was pulled by Columbus with 3 minutes left. Tonight was the night of pulling the goalie early. I don't know if coaches get together on this. Last night it was the night of goal challenges. Tonight it was the night of pulling the goalie early. Tkachuk scored from Hamonic and Lindholm at 17:21 into said empty net. And 3-0 win by Calgary. Great game by Riddick. Big road win for them. Now they go into Washington tomorrow night. And we'll see how they do with that for people wondering. The preview for tomorrow I will do tomorrow morning. I don't need to do it early tonight because there aren't any matinee games. Thankfully. And there may very well be a live stream tomorrow night on the main channel. Just saying. During the game. I'll give you guys a little bit of warning about that. But it's probably going to happen because there's only 2 games. Riddick saved all 43 shots that he faced. Korpisalo saved 26 out of 28 at his end of the rink. Riddick's your number 1 star. Monahan's number 2 and Korpisalo's number 3. Power plays. Calgary 0 for 2. Columbus 0 for 3. The shots were even in the first period at 9. Columbus takes over after that, but Riddick was just a wall. 18-10 in the second, 16-10 in the third, 43-29 in favor of Columbus overall. They just didn't get the result that they wanted tonight. So, great road game for Calgary. And tomorrow night against the Capitals, I'm guessing it's Talbot because it's a back-to-back situation. We'll discuss that in the preview tomorrow, but highly likely. Moving along. Montreal. I was afraid tonight. I was afraid at numerous points. This is where Montreal's going to take over. This is where we're going to see a big goal from Brendan Gallagher. This is in part because while Dallas has had some good results on this winning streak they've been on. They've won 5 out of 6 coming into tonight. Until tonight, there were parts of their game that I still kept saying, this is a problem. Tonight, that power play came through. Now, Montreal's penalty kill may be a whole other issue, but the fact that Dallas scored on the power play, the confidence they're picking up, the fact Pavelski's getting better, things are looking pretty good for Dallas right now. And then the weird thing was that the game's in Dallas, and the national anthem singer in Dallas is singing it in French. She's singing the Canadian national anthem in French. I thought that was a nice touch. I did, and I maybe I've missed other anthem singers in the States doing that when Montreal's on the road, but I thought that was a nice touch. Bishop was under fire early. The Habs get a power play at the half. The Stars got a power play late. I thought, it's not going anywhere. It's the Stars power play, and I'm all ready for the snarky comment on the board. And Radulov gets a goal from Sagan at 15:24 on the power play. I had to put a question mark because I'm like, really? They scored on this. It happened. Wow. The Stars pushed for more, and then the Habs ended up getting another power play late. That didn't go anywhere. Second period, the Habs got a power play just past the halfway mark again. Remember, I'm scrolling through 7 games. Once this is in the second period, there's 8 games on. So, yeah, it gets kind of madness. And I also had to put up here, why did the Stars play in so many low-scoring games? Why can't I have a night where it's decided early what's going to happen and I can just relax? No. Gurianov got a penalty shot, and I'll be dipped. He scored. At 18:49, he scored to make it 2-0, and that was impressive. Gurianov has been frustrating. Gurianov's been frustrating to watch over the last couple of years because he's got the speed, he's got the hands, he just can't put it together. And he's finally starting to realize that potential is finally coming through. This is a first-round draft pick that's finally playing like a first-round draft pick. Third period, and the first thing I had to put up here was careful of sitting on the lead. And I was worried about Dallas sitting on the lead. They didn't really do that. Price was sharp on a Radulov shot that took place. And then the Stars got a power play. And I'm like, okay, well, they've already got a power play goal for tonight, so that'll probably be the end of it. No. Gurianov with the power play goal from Hintz and Pavelski at 10:43. The Stars have depth scoring, which is good because their first line hasn't been scoring a lot. Maybe it's forced these guys to get better. I don't know how else to put it. It's strange. Then with 5 minutes left in the game, Montreal pulls the goalie, which I thought was really strange. I'm like, wait, there's 5 minutes left. They're pulling the goalie down by 3? It's different. And then there was a non-call. So Gallagher gets hit in the face with a stick, knocks a tooth out. While there's no call, Faxa throws it to Heiskanen, hits the empty net at 15:08. Yes, it should have been a penalty. And Gallagher's showing his tooth to the referee and going, I didn't knock this out myself. So, what's going on? But that made it 4-0. Before the end of the game, Lehkonen ruins the shutout from Suzuki and Byron at 16:18, so we didn't get another shutout today. And then the Habs pulled the goalie again, which is just amazing. And then Dallas got a power play before the end of the game to stop the madness, pulling the goalie all the time. Price saved 36 out of 39. I thought he played well. Bishop saved 35 out of 36. He was excellent. Gurianov, Bishop, and Lindell are the 3 stars. Montreal went 0 for 5 on the power play. Dallas went 2 for 4. The shots in this game, 14-13 in favor of Dallas in the first, 14-9 Dallas in the second, and in the third, the shots were 14-12 in favor of Montreal. The final shots, 40-36 in favor of the Dallas Stars. So there was a lot more shots in this game than I might normally see in a Dallas game, and Dallas managed to score 4 goals. One of them's an empty netter, but Dallas scoring more than 2 goals is noteworthy. And for Montreal, it's a tough setback after a big win in Vegas, so things end up kind of even for them. But yeah, this was a big win for the Stars. All right, moving along. St. Louis in against the Minnesota Wild, and as I said, 7 games are playing, and then an hour later this one starts. So I saw what I could, right? Foligno scores from Spurgeon and Greenway to make it 1-0 Minnesota at 2:26. However, This is St. Louis, so they're not going to fall over. McEachern scores from Barbashev and Parayko at 4 minutes. Gunnarsson scored from O'Reilly at 14:25. And the Blues got a power play shortly after that. So the Blues, it felt like we're getting momentum, even though the shots favored Minnesota through the first period. So that's kind of how things work for Minnesota sometimes. Now in the second, the shots favored the Blues, and yet Minnesota gets the goals. It's Fiala from Brodin and Parisi at 1 minute and 1 second. Zuccarello then scores from Stahl and Hunt on the power play at 4:39. So Minnesota gets a power play goal, and they're up 3-2 on the Blues. The Blues challenged a goal by the Wild, and it was agreed that there was goaltender interference on Jake Allen that led to the goal. I was watching the Minnesota feed. They didn't think that the goal should have been called back, right? I thought it was a 50-50 call. I honestly thought that he probably wouldn't have saved it anyways, but yeah, it's goalie interference. That is something that they can look at, though, and say, well, yeah, there's goalie interference, but he wouldn't have saved that, but I'm not going to complain. I know there will definitely be fans of the Wild that do, and I don't blame them. But again, I figured it was one of those plays. Third period, the Wild need to close it out. I put up there like, okay, let's go. Here we go. You got my undivided attention, as much undivided attention as you can get, because at that point all these games are over. Other games were starting, of course. And the Wild need to close it out, which means Sammy Blais scored from Bozak and Falk at 6:05. The Blues then failed on a power play. It was a close third period. There weren't a lot of chances late, and it felt to me like both teams were playing for the point. There was a minor scrum with 2 minutes and 3 seconds left, and it was one of those ones where it felt like it could really blow up, but clearly the players went, it's a tie game, it's late. We should have this fight at a different time, not right now. Dubnyk then denied Sundqvist with 24 seconds left. And it was a fantastic save by Devin Dubnyk. So we go into overtime. In the overtime, O'Reilly scores from Thomas and Dunn at 2:27. O'Reilly scores a key goal. Color me surprised. Not really. So 4-3 for the St. Louis Blues. Minnesota loses the third period lead, loses the game in overtime. It's the first time Minnesota's been in overtime this year, not the first time for St. Louis. And St. Louis continues this run they've been on lately. So, Jake Allen, 20 saves on 23 shots. Dubnyk saved 25 out of 29. For Allen, it's a win. That's important. For Jake Allen, the way things have been going for him this year, that's a win. Your 3 stars are O'Reilly, Blais, and Fiala, who gets on the board and looked pretty good in this game for Minnesota, and they need him to step up. Shots were 10-6 Minnesota in the first, 12-6 in favor of St. Louis in the second. 10-7 St. Louis in the third. They got the only shot of overtime. Final shots 29-23 in favor of the Blues. The Blues went 0 for 3 on the power play. Minnesota went 1 for 2. So not too bad. And overall, if you're Minnesota, you probably take this result and you're like, well, at least we got a point. But again, when you're at home and you're up going into the third period, you need to be able to lock that down. And they weren't able to do that. So yeah, we'll see how long the Blues can keep up this nice little run they've been on lately. Again, they need comeback victories and overtime victories, and it feels like they really haven't reached their peak yet, and yet they're in a pretty darn good position to finish pretty high in the standings based on their record right now. And we're in November. The record does matter. We can go ahead and throw aside the whole, well, it's just early. That argument is gone. We are over 15% of the way through the season right now. Yeah, it doesn't feel like it, but we are. That being said, I now need to change boards for the second and final time in this video. And here we go. Arizona. This is a huge win for the Arizona Coyotes. And it is a frustrating loss for Colorado. Yeah, I jinxed McKinnon. I talked about his point streak, and it's over. I ended it because I talked about it. Which is why when I see an Islanders fan going, you have to talk about our winning streak. You have to do a video just on the winning streak. I'm going, okay. But I talked about Dallas being garbage, and then they won 6 out of 7. So if you want me to talk about the Islanders and do a video just about the Islanders, I can. But I did a video last year about Buffalo's 10-game winning streak, and then they missed the playoffs. So, anyways, Arizona tonight. Dvorak scores from Kessel and Keller at 6 minutes and 40 seconds. Also, Towards the end of last season, I talked about Arizona and how I thought they had a good chance of making the playoffs, and then they missed. Kessel scored from Hayton and Osterley at 15:52, and it was 2-0 for Arizona. Pretty encouraging period of hockey. And what impressed me the most was their puck control in that period. Now, somewhere between the first and the second, I don't know if they did some drinking and celebrating after the first, or if Colorado realized we could be on a losing streak coming out of this. We don't want to do that. But the second period was all Colorado. They had an early power play. They were pushing and pushing. They got another power play. The Coyotes kept giving them power play chances. The Coyotes finally got a power play of their own at the 6-minute mark. So those power plays were very early for Colorado, and it felt like, and even Tyson Nash said they're playing with fire here. They can't keep giving Colorado chances. That being said, Garland would score from Schmaltz and Goligoski at 15:52, and you've got yourself a 3-0 lead. And for Garland, that's his 7th of the year already. So he's a third of the way to a 20-goal season. They didn't have a 20-goal scorer last year. They will have 20-goal scorers this year. And nice to see Schmaltz with another helper. Now, third period, it's 3-0. Okay, Abs, this is where you got to do it. But you could see that they were missing Ranton and Landeskog. They're really missing these guys. And it was a really strong game for Kemper as well. So it was kind of a perfect storm for the Colorado Avalanche tonight. Grabner missed on a breakaway. He had a breakaway chance and just missed on it. He took a slap shot that went wide. At least it looked like it went wide. It turned out Francouz deflected it off his blocker. I don't know if it was going to go in the net anyways if he didn't, but he did. And that was your last note for a 3-0 win by Arizona that really wasn't in any doubt in the third period. It's weird. Arizona, not just in a playoff spot, but looking pretty comfortable in a playoff spot. So we are now in a world where Edmonton, Arizona, and Vancouver look like, yeah, they should be in the playoffs this year. We're in bizarro land. I don't want anybody to wake me up, though, because this was a good night. 3 stars, Kemper, Kessel, and Dvorak. Francouz saved 25 out of 28. Darcy Kemper saved all 33 shots he faced. The shots were 16-7 in favor of Arizona in the first, 17-3 in favor of Colorado in the second. Seriously. And then 9-9 in the third. 33-28 were the shots in favor of the Avalanche. They went 0 for 4 on the power play. That's your storyline right there. They get the shots on the power play, couldn't get the goal. 1 for 2 was Arizona on the power play. So, again, special teams tonight mattered more than they sometimes normally do. But, yeah, this was big, and we'll see if Arizona can keep this up. And for Colorado, it's a worrying trend. They now find themselves out of first place, and they've lost a couple now, and we'll see if they can bounce back. Again, they have to show that they can do it without those certain players. The knock on Colorado last year was that they didn't have scoring depth beyond the first line. And this is kind of showing that maybe there was something to that. Anyways, moving along. Next up is Vegas at home against Winnipeg. I don't know what's going on with Vegas, but they better wake it up. Because when Carnell is singing the anthem, you win for Carnell. You win for Carnell. He is the guy who, when he does the anthem, you win the game. And they didn't win the game tonight. And he did the anthem. So Carnell, if you're out there, I'm sorry that they let you down. Perreault scored from Bourque at 2 minutes and 19 seconds. And Vegas then got a power play, and they poured it on. First is Marchessault from Theodore and Carlson at 4:51. Then Pacioretty scores from Stone at 7 minutes. Ben Schmidt scored from Carlson at 8 minutes and 30 seconds. And I was like, wow, Brossoit is having a miserable night. He is not looking particularly sound. And I kept thinking, Hellebuck played great and has to be sitting on the bench and going, man, come on. Nah, come on. Seriously? Let's go. And he likely wasn't thinking that about his battery mate, the other goaltender. He's probably thinking that about the defense. So, because goaltenders don't think that about other goaltenders, as far as I know. They're in their goaltenders union. So it was 3-1 after one, and I was thinking, all right, well, Vegas has this one. Even though They blew a 2-goal lead in their last game in the third period. I went, nah, they can't do that 2 games in a row. Second period, the Jets were ahead in shots, which I thought was ironic. Because last night, they weren't ahead in shots at all, and they won. Tonight, they were ahead in the shots, and they were losing. Pretty interesting. It was a solid road period, but the Jets weren't getting goals. So they played really, really well in that second period. They weren't getting goals. Vegas got a power play after the halfway mark of that period. There weren't a lot of power plays either way tonight. And I approve of that. There are some games that sometimes get dragged down by just how many penalties are being called. So going into the third, it's 3-1 Vegas. Vegas has got this. This is their game. The Jets got a power play. They couldn't set up on that power play. So it looked pretty dire for them. There was a lot of pressure by the Jets, and Subban looked really good. Subban had a good night. So for anybody who's going to get mad at Subban, I think you would be throwing stones at the wrong guy. There was another Jets power play at around the halfway mark, and they scored on it. Yeah, Perreault from Connor and Morrissey at 10:02. And then immediately after that goal, the Jets kept pushing. It was like they realized, hey, Vegas is vulnerable. And this is what we saw with Montreal in the last game too, where Vegas just doesn't look right. They don't look right out there right now. Scheifele scores from Connor at 13:17, and Gallant was irate. There wasn't an icing call. I believe it was Nate Schmidt crashed into the boards. He was mad after that too. I will say the same thing I said last year during the playoffs. You play till the whistle. So if there's anybody going, hey, why was that not icing? You play until you hear the whistle. So it's not an excuse to say, well, that should have been icing. And I understand it. The thing was, apparently there was a play right before that, and I missed that when I was on this game, but there was a play right before that where Vegas probably should have been called for icing, and they weren't. And so, they may have just been saying, we'll just let them play. Either way, it's a tie game, and that's the second straight game that they've lost a 2-goal lead in the third period. And the tying goal woke up Vegas. The Vegas Golden Knights played very well the last few minutes of this game and showed that they're a pretty good team, but it goes to overtime. In the overtime, the Jets controlled the puck early. Subban robbed Mark Scheifele. Scheifele, that puck should have gone in. I don't know how Subban got it. Neither did Scheifele. He looked skyward. He seemed to be kind of like, seriously, how did that not go in? But Connor scored from Laine and Pionk at 3 minutes and 22 seconds. They completed the comeback. Winnipeg wins again. And we can debate whether they should have won this one. I would say that with the amount of puck control they had after they were down 3-1, yeah, they deserve this. For Vegas, what's going on with Vegas? It's a concern. Brossoit saved 23 out of 26. Subban saved 35 out of 39. Your 3 stars are Connor, Schmidt, and Carlson. All right, I got to do it again. So the AT&T crew out of Vegas that picked the 3 stars, what are you doing? The Jets controlled the play after it was 3-1. I can understand either Schmidt or Carlson, but Schmidt was on the ice for a couple of goals against as well. Connor's the only one who deserves to start because Perreault had 2 goals. So I would have given Perreault one of the 3 stars. But again, I don't take any issue with the 3 stars most nights. Most games, I should say. Because, if I watched enough of the game today, I was taking a guess in my own head about who the 3 stars would be. And then I see it in the app and I put it up there and I go, yeah, that's pretty good. This, no. Power plays, Winnipeg went 1 for 4 and Vegas goes 1 for 3. And I'm well aware that I'm complaining about something that doesn't really matter. The shots are 10-9 in favor of Vegas in the first. 10-8 Winnipeg in the second, 16-6 for Winnipeg in the third, and in the overtime they outshot them 4-2. Final shots are 39 for Winnipeg and 26 for the Vegas Golden Knights. So, I thought Perreault had a pretty good game. I thought Connor's 3 points were nice. I thought Scheifele's game-tying goal was pretty good, and Pionk continues to play pretty well. He played 29 minutes tonight. Turned out he's a pretty good defenseman. It's not too bad at all. Who knew? All right, moving along. And Vancouver, I don't know what to say now. I'm being honest. Going into the trip through California, I said, okay, if they do well, I buy in. I have never seen them do to San Jose since the heyday of the Sedins what they did tonight. Not like this. The score, it's insane. Sutter scores from Levo and Virtanen at 4:17. The Canucks get a power play around the halfway mark. Pettersson scored from Besser at 12:46. Pettersson and Besser are becoming a really lethal combination. It is somehow 2-0 Vancouver after one. And they outshot San Jose by a wide margin in that period. It's bizarro world. Second period, Virtanen scores from Edler and Myers at 45 seconds. 45 seconds. They scored. Gaudette then gets his second goal of the season from from Horvat and Stetcher at 5:11, and I just put up on the board. This is crazy. They're up 4-0. How is this happening? How? The Sharks went 12 minutes and 2 seconds between shots, so they were shutting down San Jose pretty darn well. The Sharks then got a power play, and it's around this point, and this is the second period where I noticed a lot of empty seats. And that there'd be entire rows of empty seats. And since I mentioned it about Florida, I mentioned about Carolina, I mentioned about others, I figure I might as well mention it about San Jose. That with the team having a miserable record, it was notable how many people may have bought tickets, but they weren't there. So, I'm not saying those were unsold seats. I'm just pointing out a lot of empty seats in San Jose. Third period, the Canucks started the third on the power play. There was then an Eriksson penalty. The Sharks got a power play. Louis Eriksson didn't get a lot of time tonight, and I don't think that'll help him get more. It looked like Tanev got hurt, and the team had already lost Ashton Sautner earlier in the night. Of course, Ashton Sautner was in the lineup because Quinn Hughes got hurt. It looked like Brock Besser got hurt at some point during this game. He stayed in it, but this is 2 games in a row where Besser was kind of laboring, so that can stop now. The Canucks got a power play, and they did it again. So the only complaint I have right now is 2 games in a row they've allowed a shorthanded goal. Vlasic gets one from Goudreau and Burns at 10:51. This is why having a guy on the point that's a forward, and in this case I believe it was Besser that ended up being the guy who came back. They'll rotate it out often. It's Pettersson that's actually at the point. I don't like having the 4 forwards and the 1 defenseman. I've talked about this before. It leaves you vulnerable to these shorthanded goals. And then after that shorthanded goal, San Jose got another break. Vancouver had a power play. It didn't look like it. And I was kind of going nuts. However, I would like to thank Joe Thornton for whatever he said from the bench that caused the referee to go, you box now. Because that led to a 5-on-3 for 40 seconds for the Canucks. They didn't score on the 5-on-3, but shortly after that first power play expired, and it was a 5-on-4, Pettersson from Miller and Besser at 12:23, and Miller's shovel pass to Pettersson was fantastic. So it's 5-1. In the last minute of the game, Evander Kane gets a goal from LeBanc and Erik Karlsson at 19:38, and there was no celebration from Evander Kane at all. Good. That's what's supposed to happen. Nothing drives me nuts more than a guy scoring in a game that the team is going to clearly lose, and he loses his mind like they just won the Super Bowl, the Stanley Cup, and the World Series all at once. And you'll see that every now and then where a guy will like, yeah, I got a goal. And it's like, what? You guys are down 4-0. So in this case, it was 5-1. He scores the second goal, and there was no real celebration from him at all. Kudos for that. Your final shots, well, Demko saved 24 out of 26. Dell saved 23 out of 28. There is a goaltending problem in San Jose. It continues. It doesn't seem like there's any change coming that I can see. However, you can see with this team that the frustration's adding up. And it's turning into penalties is the problem. The Canucks went 1 for 4 on the power play. San Jose went 0 for 3. Your 3 stars are Pettersson, Besser, and Virtanen. Jake Virtanen has started to look really, really good over the last couple of weeks. And he continues to put up points and goals. So for people who are like, Virtanen's a flop. Nope. Virtanen does a little bit of everything. He's really kind of turned into the forward he's supposed to be. He's just not scoring at a rate consistently as was expected when he was drafted where he was, but he's been very, very good. And just wait till Levy gets called up from Utica because he's having a good time in Utica right now. And then that'll I mean, he's never going to be as good as Matthew Tkachuk, obviously, but if he plays in the NHL and he's a good player, right? Shots 14-8 in favor of Vancouver, who now have points in 11 of 12 games in that first period. Second period, the shots were tied at 8. San Jose outshot them 10-6 in the third. Your final shots 28-26 in favor of Vancouver. But after the first, it wasn't really in doubt. Vancouver went in and spanked San Jose, a team that they have traditionally had a lot of problems with. So they go through California, and they come out with 5 points. I am impressed. Now, moving on to the last game of the night, and it's Chicago and LA. I don't expect a lot of people to stick around for me discussing this game, because it's the last game I'm discussing in this video, and they are two teams that are playing poorly. And the funny thing is, we saw tonight why both of them are where they were at in the standings. In the first, Clifford scored from Toffoli and Lizotte at 2 minutes and 50 seconds. Roy then scored at 4:29, so it's 2-0. And then Crawford was taken out of the game after that second goal. Now, he would come back, but the speculation was, did the ref take him out? Was it a concussion protocol thing? Because he got hit in the mask with a puck? There's always going to be this dark cloud with Crawford that if he takes any kind of hit to the head of any sort, everybody's going to kind of panic on some level. The Kings ended up getting a power play, and the shots were 10-1 for LA at the 7 minutes and 25 second mark. The Hawks got a power play at 8 minutes, and I'll be dipped, they scored on it. Kubalik scores from Doc and Nylander at 8 minutes and 25 seconds, and it was right away on that power play. It was only their third shot. So again, a team scoring on their third shot, a team that's been getting outshot in the game, and suddenly it's in the net. Kampf then scored at 17:23. The Kings got a power play late. Their power play would be fruitless tonight. Second period with a 2-2 score. Again, I was thinking I might end up needing a lot of magnets. Nope. It was a much more settled second period. And it was settled because Crawford settled it. There were a lot of shots for the Kings. The Kings had a lot of pressure. And as dominant as it was, Crawford was really, really solid. The Kings got a late power play. Nope. Third period, the Kings kept pressing. They just kept pressing and pressing and pressing. And Crawford was the reason this game was tied. He was the only reason this game was tied at that stage of the game. And then I even had to ask the question, can the Hawks even get it out of their own end? They didn't get the first shot of the period until after the halfway mark of the period. And it just felt like every moment of that game was played in Chicago's end in that third period, and I was feeling bad for Crawford. And eventually, they're going to break through, and they did. Amadio scores from Brown and McDermott at 12:37. So it's 3-2 LA with 7 minutes left. All right, they'll bring this home. But the problem was the Hawks seemed to be kind of waking up after that goal. And then they pulled the goalie with 2 minutes and 48 seconds left. And they scored with the goalie pulled. Taves scored from Kane and Keith at 18 minutes and 21 seconds. We have ourselves a tie game. And that felt like a really important goal. Jonathan Taves, that's his first point scored at even strength. Even though it was a 6-on-5, it still counted as an even strength goal. He needs to start scoring. Kane needs to pick it up as well. And Keith getting an assist. Those three guys need to get their offensive game going. And so that's good news for Chicago fans that they did. And yet, I had to write up here, this game has no business being tied. How is this game tied? It's tied because the Kings can't finish it out. They have trouble scoring. Crawford was excellent, but the Kings are a team known for having trouble scoring. In overtime, the Kings won despite themselves. I have to say, too, Kovalchuk is struggling on a level that he never has in his entire career. I don't know what they're going to do with Ilya Kovalchuk or when. I don't know if you ride that whole contract out or what you do. But he went in on... In the overtime, there were two things I noticed. One was that Kovalchuk had trouble with the puck, and then Brown kind of tripped himself. And then the fans were kind of booing, and I'm thinking, do they want a penalty on Brown for tripping himself? Or do they want Chicago to get a penalty for a King play? Like, yeah. But Doughty scored from Toffoli at 4:03. What happened is Toffoli takes the shot. Crawford kind of thought he had it, wasn't sure where it was. It was right behind him, and Doughty just puts it in. So if you were watching the game live, you could see, oh, that's going in. There's no way, Doughty can't miss that. Nobody watching this could miss that. And it's a 4-3 win in LA in overtime. And yeah, this encapsulates the problems these teams have. Absolutely. Your shots, 17-12 in favor of LA in the first, 18-8 LA in the second, 10-4 LA in the third, 4-3 in the overtime. Your final shots are 49-27. Crawford saved 39 out of 42. Leonard was perfect, saved 5 out of 5 in relief before Leonard came back into the game. And Campbell saved 24 out of 27. Chicago 1 for 1 on the power play. LA was 0 for 4. Your 3 stars, Doughty, Brown, and Clifford. I probably would have had Crawford in there. Because without Crawford saving 27 out of 28 in the second and third period, this game's over in regulation. But that's me. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below as always. Don't forget to hit like and subscribe if you're browsing your way through. You just happened upon this video, and now I get to do the power rankings. So thank you guys so much for all your support. I'll talk to you again soon.